Hello my lovely guys and girls, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. As you can see by the title of this video, we're going to be talking about supporting friends who have depression and what it's like to be a friend. Not what it's like to be, what it's like to be the friend of someone who has depression. So if you want to find out what I'm going to talk about, then just carry on watching. Right, so I did a bit of research and I asked my friend what I should kind of mention in this video, and the one that I'm going to start with is number one. Obviously the main one is just listen. If your friends come to you and have told you that they've got depression, or you've just found out that they've got depression and they're willing to open up the discussion with you, number one thing to do is listen. And sometimes they just need a listening ear to kind of vent their thoughts to, and yeah, just be there for them, because they're obviously talking to you because they feel like they can trust you and they can talk to you about it and that you'll understand. Alongside listening, one of my friends said, and actually on the Time to Change website that I kind of took some inspiration from, you just need to understand that there's no quick fix. Your friend can't be cured overnight. This might be like a long-term thing. You don't know how long it's going to take, and there is no quick fix to depression. Whether they're on antidepressants or whether they're not, even if they start taking antidepressants, that doesn't mean they're just gonna not be depressed in the first day when they start taking them, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's just really, really important to listen and be there for them and understand that they can't help the way they are. And obviously there's some things they can do to kind of help the situation, but they can't stop being depressed, because if they could, then they would, because they wouldn't want to go through that. They did say on the website, like, it's quite bad to say, or it's quite a tricky one to say, I understand. And you know, to be honest, if you're not someone, I'm not someone who reads into when people say I understand, because as much as they might not be in your situation, or they might not have, you know, personal experiences with depression, they can understand how you might be feeling, which might be different. They can't understand how you're feeling, but they can understand how you're feeling that way. So that's something I wouldn't take too much to heart, you know, to worry about. If you said to your friend, oh, I understand how you're feeling, they're not probably gonna like think too much of it. The second one I'm going to mention is look after yourself. I think there's nothing worse than knowing you have a friend who can't take on the burden of your depression. And now I'm going to go into that because that sounds like a bit odd with the first time I say it. You don't have to say outright, I can't deal with this, or I can't talk to you about this, but there's ways to go around it without just, without just saying, I can't do it. But it needs to get to a point where the relationship doesn't reach an unhealthy point where, you know, they won't seek help. The person in question with depression won't seek help, and you're just their only person that they know, because that is a huge burden to take on. Whether you're 15 or whether you're 50, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't take on the burden of someone's mental illness all by yourself. And being like a good friend in that situation means that you're well enough to like take care of your friend when they need you. It's not about letting yourself get to this point where you're just so burnt out with it all that you can't deal with it. And that goes back to what I said about, you know, you might be the only person they're talking to about it. You should encourage them to talk to other people about it as well, so the sole burden isn't on you, because you won't get everything right. And even though they might not expect you to get everything right, if they're telling you about their mental illness, they probably feel like you can have some good effect or positive effect on the way they're feeling. So obviously they're going to take your opinion into account and kind of, I don't know, be mindful of the things you're saying. So yeah, number two is definitely just look after yourself and focus on yourself as well as that person. Number three, this one's a kind of, I don't know, like a bit of a tough one, is kind of know that you're in it for the long term. Like, one of my best friends, he was the first person I ever told about anything regarding to my mental health, and he's still here now, 7 years later. As much as you might feel like it's a drain, like, this one's like really like close to my heart, just know that that person has I'm kind of over the whole fact of being like, I don't want to burden anyone anymore, because I talk to the people that I know I'm not burdening. If they're trusting you with like something so personal as their mental health, then you shouldn't be someone who's just so fleeting. I've had friends before where I've said a million times over, if this is too much for you, if it gets too much and you can't take it, just let me know. And they haven't, and it's just resulted in communication breakdown, friendship breakdown, and that kind of stuff. The thing that's been the most helpful to me over the long term has been having people there that know you and know about your story and know that you're doing what you can to kind of, yeah, make yourself better, not that you're having to repeat everything every time. Like if I went to A, B or C person, I know that they're just picking up where we left off. The fourth one I'd say is don't be too intrusive. Some people say don't ask too many questions, but I don't really believe in that because I feel like it's good to ask questions actually, and that person needs to be honest with you. But what I would say is don't be too intrusive. Your job in this situation isn't to dig, you're not their therapist, it isn't to delve deeper and just keep pushing, because ultimately that might just push someone away. But I think you should ask a lot of questions, and I know in my friendships I've always enjoyed people asking questions, because for me that's a true sign of actually they do actually want to know what's going on. And it's quite interesting to see what people have to say when you recall your story and then they give an objective opinion to what they think about it. And so I've always found that quite helpful. But yeah, don't be too intrusive. If someone's self-harmed, they're not going to necessarily want to show you where they've self-harmed. They're not going to necessarily want you to know every gory detail about what happened. And you have to be okay with that. It's not your right to know everything and anything about their mental health problems. Number 5, I would say, is seek support for yourself. You might not have any problems. You might not, I mean problems in the wider sense of mental illness problems, mental health problems, mental health difficulties, but you will still need support for that. The one thing I would say is I've never said to any of my friends, you have to keep this a secret. It's never been a secret. Of course, there's been times when I've been like, don't tell. You kind of know, like, you know, you don't expect them to go and be shouting it from the rooftops because you obviously trust them enough to know that they're your friend and they won't do that. Seek support, you know, tell someone that you're close to who you know's not gonna go and tell everyone. Like say if I was a friend of someone who had depression, I would talk to my mum about it and say, you know, how can I help, this kind of thing, that kind of thing. If you are the friend that has depression, don't make them keep it a secret from everyone and anyone and ever telling anyone, because that's not fair on them and they shouldn't have that responsibility on them. But yeah, definitely seek support for yourself, because if you seek support for yourself, it'll be easier to help your friend in the long term, and you won't feel so bogged down with it all. You might not think you'll feel bogged down with it all, but obviously it's quite a heavy and intense thing for you to take on, and you need people to talk to about that. In the long run, you can't save them. It's only them that can save them, and they need probably professional help that you won't be able to give, if that makes sense. So that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope it shed some light on the topics that we discussed today. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and comment down below on other videos and on this video. Comment video suggestions that you would like to see. Don't forget to subscribe, I think I already said that. And yeah, thank you for all your continued support, and yeah, I love you lots and lots, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!